How long have we had this putter?
This year.
Oh, this is new.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you get it?
eBay.
eBay. How much?
I forget. Yeah, not that expensive, but
Are
for a Scotty camera, not that much.
Are you an eBay golf guy?
No, I started in the locker room. They have like blade putters just around, and I've always liked putting with blades more. And I started just looking online for like bladed putters, and this popped up, and I was like, oh, that thing's sick.
Casey Bannon here. Good to be back with you and excited to be back with another season of Mind Game under the Golfers Journal podcast umbrella. If you remember, we started Mind Game last year with one goal: to get to know the most important club in our bag, our minds, in a way that hasn't been discussed before in golf. To do that, we sought out and talked to high performers and experts in a wide variety of disciplines and walks of life. Some of them played golf, many of them didn't. Our hope was that by tapping into unique mindsets off the course, we could take something unique to it. And I think it worked, or at least it did for me. You've no doubt heard the trope before: golf is the game of life, but it's true. The parallels and intersections of the two greatest games on earth can't and shouldn't be ignored. And so this show looks to find new ways to uncover and unpack them. I learned a tremendous amount about myself and others in season 1, which included conversations with surfing great Kelly Slater, Navy SEALs, top psychologists and performance coaches, best-selling authors, stoic philosophers, and NFL quarterbacks. No matter their experience with the game or topic, the conversations always seem to come back to golf. And so, after some time away to sit with those lessons, live with them, and of course play a lot of golf, some good, some bad, I'm excited to be back with another season of Mind Game. 8 new episodes starting today with Jason Kelce. Now, if you like football, watch commercials, or have a teenage daughter, I don't have to tell you who Jason Kelce is, but I will anyways. He's currently one of the most famous people on the planet and potentially one of the most likable. 13-year NFL career veteran with the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champion, brother of one of the other most famous people on the planet, hit podcast, Monday Night Football, the founder of several new companies including Underdog Apparel and Garage Beer, father of 3 daughters. He's currently working on his 3rd Christmas album, and most importantly, he's becoming a very serious golfer. I will also tell you why I wanted to talk to Jason Kelce, aside from the fact that he seems like an awesome guy to hang out with, which I can confirm is true. Most people, I assume, see him as a beer-chugging, shirtless dancing, always smiling goofball. But you don't walk on to your college team, get drafted in the 6th round, and go on to become the best player in history at your position in the NFL by being likable. That takes something else, something deep and powerful he's able to summon when he needs it, and I wanted to figure out what that thing is. Now, we recorded this episode after playing a round together at Waynesboro Country Club in Philadelphia, and his game, while green, has a lot to like about it. We do talk about his relationship with golf in this episode, as well as why he still considers himself an underdog, what he's chasing in life after football, and how he remains his authentic self despite unimaginable levels of fame. Just a quick note before we get started: you can find all Mind Game episodes, including Season 1, in the new Mind Game podcast feed, which you can subscribe to with the link in the description of this episode. They can also be found in the Golfers Journal podcast feed. We'll be dropping new episodes every other week, so make sure you subscribe to those feeds to get them first. A special thanks to our sponsors of Mind Game, that's Titleist and AG1, who we'll hear from a bit later on, and a huge thank you to all the members of the Golfers Journal, aka the Broken Tea Society, for making this show possible. If you enjoy this show and anything else that the Golfers Journal does, the best way to see that continues is to become a member at golfersjournal.com/subscribe. It's good to be back. I'm excited for this one, and I hope you get something out of this chat with Jason Kelce. So, Jason, I think first and foremost, it's an honor to be in Philadelphia with Philadelphia royalty, you know? So with
Thank
that,
you,
I want
Casey.
to
Thanks
welcome
very
Tom
much.
Coyne.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And yeah, we just that was a lot of fun. We just played a beautiful round of golf
Yeah,
here at Waynesboro, Waynesboro Country Club. How do you feel like that went for you for your golf game?
About how it always goes. Hit some really good shots, and then quadruple putt or chunk 2 chips and just ruin my entire score. Pretty standard round for me.
But flashes of
Flashes of really good shots, I feel like. I hit some really good ones. But yeah, just zero consistency.
yeah. So you obviously you are not from Philadelphia, which is hard to believe because walking around a golf course with you is an experience. You know, the amount of times I heard today, you know, thank you for all you've done. You would think you were a war hero of some kind.
Right, exactly.
But you know, and if your show wasn't called New Heights, you know, and you really took every opportunity to shout out your actual hometown,
Yeah,
of Cleveland
Cleveland
Heights,
Heights.
I think the average fan would think that you are born and raised here.
yeah.
So what do you think is that makes you and the city so compatible?
Well, one, I think that actually Cleveland and Philadelphia have a lot of similarities. I think that they're both industry, blue-collar towns that were, you know, born on the back of, you know, making a lot of goods and, you know, products during the Industrial Revolution, and the mentalities and temperament of the citizens is very similar. And I think that what I really appreciated about the athletes on our teams growing up, Philadelphia really appreciates about their athletes. And I'll never forget when I got drafted here. My agent, Jason Bernstein, the day I got picked to go to Philadelphia, he's like, you have no idea how well you're going to fit in Philly. Like, you're going to appreciate going here. So it ended up being a good match for sure.
Yeah. Do you feel so? I rewatched your retirement speech, which is brilliant, and you wrote the entire thing, which is impressive. It's a great 30 minutes if anyone hasn't watched the.
Well, 45 plus all the crying.
45, yes.
Yeah.
There's
Only 30 minutes of talking.
There's a supercut on YouTube. It's called Retirement Speech with No Crying.
With no crying. There we go.
But the sort of the through line of that, as I heard it, is this idea of being an underdog, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess does the place that you come from have anything to do with that? Do you feel like Cleveland and Philadelphia have this mentality of being an underdog? And also, why do you? It seemed like you really like being an underdog.
Yeah, no, I love being. I actually don't like. I feel awkward when I'm not the underdog. It feels weird. It feels like I'm kind of being set up to fail almost. I don't know. Maybe that's just because I've never been. I guess I've never viewed myself that way as like the established, like expected to be great football player or whatever. So I think that for sure I've always viewed myself that way. I do think Cleveland and Philadelphia both view themselves in that type of mentality where it's like, you know, the underdog word I think sometimes gets portrayed as like the non-favored or whatever, but I like to think of it like the underdog is a team that like knows that they're more valuable than like what other people are necessarily giving them, and they fight back to like claim like that value that they should have. And I think that I think in that respect Cleveland and Philadelphia have that vibe very much so. They're underappreciated, I think, on the national scale, certainly Cleveland. Philadelphia a little bit less on the national scale. We have New York and these other cities that are surrounding it where Philadelphia, I think, is very loud and proud itself in response to that. So I do think that there's a lot of symbiosis with that. And then, you know, the way the season went in 2017, you know, not being the favorite to win any of the playoff games, losing the quarterback, and then really Lane Johnson and Chris Long taking the underdog theme and threading it through that whole season. Yeah, it's kind of stayed with me.
Yeah. I mean, is it? I imagine it's maybe a little hard for you to feel like an underdog these days. Like, it must be pretty good. It seems like it's pretty good to be you in 2024.
Yeah, and maybe it's I think I'll always view myself a little bit under that lens, but yeah, I mean, there's no. I think that the Kelce brand in general is pretty high right now. I don't know that it should be this high. If anything, we're the overdog now. We're way overvalued probably, but I think I still try to attack things with that same mentality of. You know, you put the work in, you do your best, and you're just trying to get better than the day before, and yeah, all the mentality that I had before, I still try to attack every day with it.
What are you trying to get? I've heard you say this before, but you try to get a little bit better each day at something. What are those leaving football? What were the things that you said? Okay, I want to chase these things and then set a path forward to get better at them.
So, I don't really have, I wouldn't say that I have like, a lot of people say that like write down. I was just listening to Chris Jones, outstanding detailing, like writes his goals on his mirror and permanent Sharpie, which I think is great. But I kind of just go whatever I feel like I need to get better in. Like for me now, I'm broadcasting, and I know that I'm not as good as I want to be right now. So I'm trying to improve my preparation. This is the first time I've ever done this, and I don't know how to prepare. And you find out that each guy kind of prepares their own way. So you ask questions to people, and you continually try to what do you do to prepare? How do you feel like you get ready for this? Ryan Clark, like what are you doing to make sure you're in touch with everything across the NFL, because it's different. When you're a player, you focus on one opponent. All the other stuff, you block out. It's only about us and these guys, and I'm going to hyper-focus on my opponent and what I need to do my job. Now, I still look at the game through that lens, but I need to look at it from a much higher perspective of what's happening to these teams on a macro level, what's happening to the league on a macro level, these divisions. So it's a much different way of looking at football than I have for the past 13 years. And trying to get comfortable with that is something that I'm trying to get better at every day. My brother and I do a podcast. I'm always trying to improve that, right? Whether it's, rewatching it and looking at it and be like, I don't like the way that sounds. I don't like my eye contact. I don't like the energy in that section. I don't like, there's like a lull in the conversation when we have a guest. So you're always trying to find these little things like, okay, I can do this better, I can do that better, and you just think about it and try and incorporate it the next time you're doing whatever it is, or prepare more. Yeah.
So that sounds like film study.
For sure. I think that, and I think you have to. I think, like, I listened to our podcast when we first started doing it, and kind of like, what are you listening to this for? You just recorded it. And I'm like, I'm listening to it because I want to hear what it sounds like, right? Like, me listening to the end product is what the consumer's seeing, right? And, how well does that come across? Because when we do it, trust me, we cut out all sorts of stuff that doesn't make it. There's lulls, and the finished product is much different. And what I remember and how things happen isn't always the way that it feels when you're listening to it back. So I think it is film study. You're quite literally watching that, taking notes. Okay, how can we do that better next time? Or, oh, that bit was good. Maybe we can expand that in another way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you bring that mentality or are you bringing that mentality yet to your golf? Are you going to play back today's round and think,
so, yeah,
that shot or this shot, I know I like that shot ahead. You hit a really nice shot to close on 18.
I'm happy about that shot.
So I hope that shot sticks with you.
It will. It's always good to end on a good shot.
Exactly.
Good to end on
And
a
you
good
did.
shot. I would love to videotape myself and watch myself hit golf shots, because I think that I learn a lot from doing that. And even just like thinking about how to swing a club after I've watched myself swing a club, I feel like there's a lot of improvement that happens. And I haven't done that yet, but I would love to do that more.
Yeah, it's a matter. It takes time.
Yeah.
Probably don't have a lot of time.
No, not as much. I've taken a couple lessons, and they've made a big difference. But yeah, the video to me that's a huge point of like emphasis on making improvements. I think that makes a big deal. And everything I've ever done, football, I was very specific with Stout and those guys. I want to watch the practice right after we practice because it's the freshest in my mind, and I want to be able to like really remember what I was thinking, why I stepped a certain way, what happened, and like the further you are removed from that, once you watch the tape, it's like you've lost little things, but they ultimately end up being big things over the course of that. And then in other sports, like we wouldn't videotape practice when I was growing up, like hockey and lacrosse, and I just felt like that was such a wasted opportunity to improve the team of watching ourselves do that. And we didn't have the resources to do it, but
There's a double-edged sword though with golf. Like you don't like I don't know if it's always healthy to watch your golf swing
no.
too much. No. I think at certain times it's beneficial, but some people can fall into, I mean, maybe you've seen this. You fall into the trap of like, aesthetic swinging, and you're like, I want this here and that here, and you lose you chase a look, a visual, and not a feel. That can happen.
Yeah, we talk about it when you start playing golf swing instead of golf, right? And
Yeah.
I do that, trust me. And the internet, obviously, and YouTube are very dangerous
It helps.
for showing.
I have fallen down those rabbit holes very much.
Oh, I want to do this, and I want to get that position. I need to do this with this hip, and so then you get out on the golf course, and you're thinking about those things instead of actually the point of golf is to get the ball in the hole. So we can forget about that. I forgot it a lot today, actually. I noticed, but yeah.
I had a strength coach in college, Paul Longo, who used to say like golf instructors mess more people up playing golf than like you would even realize. He's like, just go out there, be an athlete. I think there's a middle ground here that we can get to.
Yes,
of
but
course.
I certainly hear what you guys are saying.
Yes, yes. Shout out to all of our PGA.
We love all our
Especially in the
instructors.
Philadelphia section. Go take a lesson. Between our year-round Broken Tea Society tour events and making content, I'm on the road quite a bit with the Golfers Journal, about 30 weeks in total this year, actually. And one thing I always have with me when I travel is AG1. Now, if you're unfamiliar, AG1 is a daily health drink packed with nutrients to help alleviate bloating, support sustained energy, and whole body health. Through a science-driven formulation of vitamins, probiotics, and whole food sourced nutrients, AG1 delivers comprehensive support for the brain, gut, and immune systems. And best of all, AG1 is running a special Black Friday offer for all of November. Now, something personal. I've dealt with stomach issues my entire life, and that gets even worse when I travel. And you know how these golf trips go. Greasy foods, maybe a beer here or there after the round, or 5 if you're playing golf with Jason Kelce. So after 3 to 4 days of that, we can agree it can get ugly. That's why I start every day with 1 scoop of AG1. And not only does it boost digestion and keep everything down there working properly, I feel more focused and energized thanks to the magnesium, B vitamins, and other adaptogens and minerals included in that once daily scoop. I'm also rarely sick anymore thanks to the boost of vitamin C, zinc, and functional mushrooms. It's all really good stuff and important nutrients I was not getting elsewhere. So, as we approach this holiday season, try AG1 for yourself or even gift it to someone special. It's the perfect time to focus on supporting your body with an easy and surprisingly delicious daily health drink. Every week of November, AG1 will be running a special Black Friday offer for a free gift with your first subscription, in addition to the welcome kit that comes with vitamin D3 plus K2. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/BTS24 to see what gift you can get this week. That's drinkag1.com/BTS24 to start your holiday season off on a healthier note while supplies last. I did have a dumb football question, but so for the average fan, but we talked about this a little bit today. What I'm watching is not exactly what you're seeing, especially now as a broadcaster.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest, it's just a different, you guys have your own, you've created your own language. We don't understand the schematics of it and how complex it can be and what each team is really trying to do. I can understand the result, but the process and sort of the strategy game that's going on is different. And I think one of the hardest positions to evaluate for the casual or even the above average fan is the offensive line position.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is that made you one of the best centers to ever play? You know, what separated? Because I'm sure there were people, back to the underdog, there were people bigger, there were people faster, and people stronger. What was it that separated you for 13 years?
Well, one, I would say that I was in a really good situation. I played for one Hall of Fame coach in Howard Mudd and another future Hall of Fame coach in Jeff Stoutland. And I played with a lot of really good players next to me. There are a lot of players that I saw in the league that I would say are as good or better than me. And I think that I had a few things that really helped, which were the situation. I had great fortune in not really having that many injuries. I had a long career. I mean, 13 years. Just being able to do that is one thing. Also staying healthy is another thing. So all of that went really well for me, which ultimately makes a big difference in how you're viewed over the course of your career. And then I had good traits. You know, I was very athletic, more athletic than potentially any other center. I had enough size. I wasn't big enough by some people's metrics, but you know, I had enough that it wasn't a severe weakness for the most part. And I was competitive. I was taught really good techniques that helped me use my strengths to my advantages, and those coaches used me in ways that accentuated my strengths. And then I always think that one of the biggest determinators of success is self-awareness, and I think a lot of players either think too highly of themselves or too lowly. Either they think they're not really good, right? And then it's like, okay, well, you're never going to be good if you think you suck.
Is this a Jim? This is a Jim Schwartz.
This is a
quote.
Jim Schwartz thing.
Yeah.
Or you think you're amazing, and then you're never going to be getting better because you think you're already arrived. And I think that I've always had a really healthy understanding of what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, what I need to improve at, and I think that that's helped me continue to improve weaknesses and maximize strengths.
Yeah. I actually think that that argument is flipped in golf. I would rather be. I would rather
overly confident.
I would think I would love to think that I'm great at golf.
Yeah.
Because those guys, they don't see the hazard, they don't see out of bounds, and they just play.
We talk about it a lot with DBs in football. DBs are most overly confident people, and I think you kind of have to be to play DB because you beat for an 80-yard touchdown. You got to go back out there and have some type of confidence. You got to be a little bit unrealistic, but yeah, I guess that's how I would answer that.
So you've learned from a lot of great people, and had a ton of success in football, and are having success in broadcasting and a lot of different avenues. Is coaching an avenue you want to explore? Do you think that's in your future?
I would love to coach. Coaching, the problem with coaching is the time. Huge time commitment. If you want to be great at coaching, you can only coach, and it takes away, especially if you want to do it at the NFL level. Potentially could do that in the future at the high school level. Definitely different time commitment there. I want nothing to do with college. College is
why not?
It's, first of all, it's the highest time commitment. Not only you're coaching your guys, but you're recruiting. Right. It's just a whole, and then the NIL stuff, it just feels like it's in a very weird state right now that I probably would avoid. NFL, you get this selfish gratification of competing at the highest level and working with the best athletes on the planet in that sport. High school, you get the gratification of, helping form young men, and it's a much different objective, even though you're still trying to win football games. And then, but yeah, it's hard to do that and have enough time with family and media and all these other things. So for me, it's not right now. Maybe in the future, I think it could happen. I think selfishly, I know that I would love to do that. But there's also a lot of other things I want to do right now that prevent it.
You are doing a lot
Yeah.
currently. I mean, you're building, you've got, speaking of Underdog, you've got Underdog Apparel,
Yep.
Garage Beer, Top Podcast,
Yep.
Monday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
Now that the the structure of professional football is gone, and you're branching out into all this. What have you learned about yourself from building these brands, from like stepping into a different arena?
Well, I've realized how lucky I was to have everything laid out for me for football. Show up at 8 o'clock. This is when your day starts. You're here, then you're here, then you're here, then you're here. It's something that is really efficient, and it maximizes your time and availability and, you know, what you're going to do to improve. Now that everything is kind of all over the place and none of it's really connected to each other outside of really me, navigating that is a difficult challenge, and maximizing my time and schedule and resources is something that I'm getting better at. And I would say I'm pretty bad at it right now. So what I've done is I try to, just like a team, you try and put a team around you. And there's people that are really good at that I try, like Emily, shout out to Emily. She really does a great job of helping facilitate all these different pieces and maximize my schedule. You know, you build out, you know, your teammate that, like, I'm awful with organization, so Emily helps me there. I'm awful with organization and the idea of running businesses. So I get my buddy Steven and my buddy Corey here, and I'm awful at making music. So I hire true musicians to do that and make a Christmas album. So I think you get good from playing within a team, that understanding that you're not the best at everything, right? And that's fine. You just work with other people that are really good and find ways at maximizing each other's avenues and what each other's strengths are.
You called yourself an analytical thinker, and that was more in reference to kind of when you were used to be at the line of scrimmage, you know, sort of checking off boxes, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've got, you know, reading coverages, all this stuff.
Very formulaic.
Yeah, formulaic, I guess is the right word.
Yeah.
But you've also got like this creative thing going on where you like to write and make music and, you know, create outside of that. So which one appears when you're standing over a golf ball?
Probably the analytical one.
Yeah.
Probably too much. My brother is much more the artistic-minded individual, and I think that most of the best athletes operate in that realm. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think most athletes operate in this free-thinking space where they're just going out and they're doing it. I think when most people that struggle with things are overthinking it, or they're trying to make something that's not mechanical into like a mechanical process. But I also think kind of the best people at all these sports find a way to do both of those. I think the thing that makes Patrick Mahomes really good is that he's really analytical. He's thinking about things in somewhat of like a mathematical stance, but then at the same time he can access this instinctual part of his brain and go off the cuff and still be able to operate. Typically athletes operate in one or the other. Either you're too much here, and then if something goes off, you kind of don't know what to do, or you're too free, and then there's no structure to what you're doing. And I think the best athletes find a way to operate in both those realms. Patrick certainly does it. My brother, I think he does it too, but he's definitely, is probably more free thinking. Like I talked to him about the lateral this past week on our podcast that he had this past Monday night. He's like, man, I just blacked out. I'm like, all right, that's not going to help us get to why this happened, but it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Do you think there's an old Kobe quote about, you know, creativity is born from structure that I think a lot.
Okay.
And which it sounds like you're getting at, right? Because, you know, Patrick Mahomes plays inside a structure, but because he has structure, he's allowed to be creative inside the boundaries.
Yes.
You know, do you think that it's a rare thing that people have both?
Yeah.
And it's something we've addressed on this podcast multiple times, which is trying to get to like, is that a innate thing, or is that something that you can learn? And I'm not sure if we'll ever get to the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there's probably some inherent things that are innate in certain individuals, but I also think that you can probably learn it and get better at operating within those. I mean, there's all sorts of games and sports, like I really do think playing, the more sports you play, the more it makes you creative within other sports. I think that's big. Like I still remember I was playing, I had just picked up lacrosse and I didn't really know how to play. And I started doing this like swim move because that's what I did on a football field. And I would take the stick, I'd kind of like wave it here to get the defender to kind of like take a swing at it. And then I'd go over his head and I'd be past him. And my lacrosse coach hated it because like nobody else did that move. And then I would like turn the TV on and see like guys in college are actually doing that move now. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. Like he's like,
It's the Kelce. They're
yeah,
calling
well,
it.
it's the swim move. And like, so I think that when you play other sports, you expand your experiences. And I think that being creative, like when I played music, it's hard, like it was really hard to improvise when I was younger because they would give you a scale and they would say, okay, just go out there and improvise within this scale. And when you're operating from no experience within the song or the scale or what you're doing, that means nothing. It's hard to have anything of substance. But once you've mimicked other solos or you've heard enough music and you have all these things that you can relate your brain to in the moment, then being creative in the moment and drawing on all these past experiences and things that you've done becomes easier to all of a sudden improvise something in the middle of nothing.
Yeah. I found that with golf too, starting to play golf, which is like there's so much etiquette and sort of rules that come with golf that playing as a young person, at least for the first, I would say 2 years, is about like, okay, I got to put my shoes on inside. And then I can't stand here when somebody's hitting, and I don't want to walk through his through line. And so you constantly have this checklist until that becomes natural. And only when that becomes ingrained can you actually feel like you go out and can play golf. But other than that, you're like walking through this series of steps, not trying to break any rules. And I think it's one of the barriers that young people
have for the game.
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
Am I breaking the barrier right now by having my hat on?
Your hat's on. You change your shoes in the parking lot. There's been a lot today, Jason.
Tom's gonna get a letter.
There's going to be multiple letters.
That's
I'm
kidding.
kidding.
That's done.
Jason, put your hat on.
I'm not putting my hat on.
Okay.
I'm learning golf etiquette.
You've got this room reserved.
This room is outside the boundaries of the country club right now.
Yeah. I guess what is your sort of background in with the game of golf?
Golf? So golf specifically, my dad took me and my brother to Palladian Sports that used to, I think it used to be on Mayfield in Cleveland Heights. And I had like a set of clubs. Actually, I think they'd be really cool now to have. It's like some Ben Hogan like forged irons is what I learned to play on.
I'm sweating right now.
Yeah, that's like the first club set I ever had. And
How old were you at this time?
oh man, middle school.
Okay.
Yeah, and actual wooden woods,
Yeah.
and then whatever driver was in the bag. And there was a public course in the area. I don't think it was in Cleveland Heights. I forget exactly what suburb it's in, but Highlands. And he would drop my brother and I off there. And now I'm convinced he did this just so he could have, like, when we weren't into summer camp or playing baseball or whatever, he had a place that he could just take us and leave us for 5 hours and not have to worry about it. But he would take us there. We'd be there for 5 hours and chip around, play a round of golf. And we probably did that, 5 to 7 times a year. And we did that pretty much all through high school.
Yep. And so what's your relationship like with the game now? Are you
Now?
Are you dating? Are you
Am I dating? Am I flirting?
Are you
I would
going
say
steady?
I've been dating with golf for a long time. I think that it's starting to get more serious. We're thinking about a long-term commitment here. I think golf, now a lot of former players golf. And now that I'm not, getting all of my competitive energy out playing football, that is a real loss that you don't have. And golf is a really, really good avenue that doesn't destroy my brain or knees or ankles to be able to go out and mainly compete with myself, but also compete with other guys out there too. And I think it's something that you get to go around the guys. all these guys you spend a lot of time with playing, friends, whoever, you get to go out and enjoy a round together and compete. And it's something that I think now that I don't have football and basketball would hurt way too much. It's a good place to go. So I think it's getting serious.
Well, you're in Philadelphia, which is a great golf scene.
No doubt.
Are you, in part of this courtship, do you have your eye on any places that you'd like to play your golf?
Play golf, like join or just play golf?
Yeah.
Join?
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I'm looking at. I don't know. I'm just playing as many courses as I can right now. I wouldn't say sampling right now.
Any courses that you're really in the area you think, but I think this place is special. Aside from Waynesboro, which we
Waynesboro, of course, yes. I think there's a ton of really, really good golf in the Philadelphia area. And I've been fortunate to play a bunch of courses. I don't know that I want to name drop any specific one, and then all of a sudden I don't get into one. Good. You know what I mean?
You're doing it. You're
good. Is that how this happens?
That's how this goes.
Yeah.
Sounds like the Tom Coyne school.
Don't say you don't say you like this girl, because then that girl, right? Or do I say I like the ugly girl and then the hot girl thinks I'm famous? Playing middle school tricks again.
But it is that experience, especially around. I know what you're talking about, because it's, to join some of the clubs in this section. It's like you can't ask, right? You can't pursue,
right?
You have to be approached. But what if you're not approached? And then so it is a game.
I think it's also, I don't know, like I've never belonged to a club before, so I've talked to a couple buddies of mine that do belong to clubs, and you try and figure out, what do Kylie and I want?
That's big,
right?
What do you want in your club?
Like we both have 3 daughters together. Kylie likes. I would love for her to get into golf. We go to Top Golf, and she has great hand-eye coordination, so I think she would love it. But I think she also likes racket sports. So it's like, is the club more golf-oriented? Does it have the whole thing? Is the pool important? We kind of have a pool at our house, but having a pool that a bunch of other people are, it's kind of cool. So we're figuring all that out.
All right. Well, you have plenty of options in the section, and I'm sure I can't think of a place where they wouldn't be excited to have you. So,
We'll see.
You're gonna be all right. But you're always welcome here.
Okay, wonderful.
This is a very Philly thing, I think, this conversation.
Yeah.
This courtship that you're talking about.
Yeah, because
it's like Philly and New York. You guys do this, and there's like a game. There's like a subculture
is that
of
not the
like
way it
club
happens?
dating. I don't feel that.
No? Yeah. Well, you're living in Florida, so you just go play golf.
I throw
in
a
Florida.
stone and I hit a golf course.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, there's certain. Right, like you got to think, is this a family club? Is this just a golf club? Is this somewhere I'd bring my kids? Is somewhere I'd bring my partner or my wife? So there's that, and then it's a matter of like, okay, how many folks do you know that can help you out to join that club? And but yeah, I think everyone certainly knows who you are. But it was so cool today to walk around and see people literally thank you for bringing joy to their lives.
Yeah.
Does that feel weird?
Feels weird because, what did you want? Of course, I wanted to win these games for me and for you. Like, I don't know. It feels weird because it does feel in some ways like I'm being thanked for my service, like I'm like a veteran.
It had that vibe.
Yeah, it's very much that vibe. And it's like, I appreciate you guys saying this, but like I got a lot out of this as well. Like, this is like something that like really has benefited me greatly. So I'm very, I guess, a lot of times a lot of people, I enjoyed the Super Bowl so much. Thank you. I'm like, yes, so did I. You know what I mean? I'm right there with you. Yeah. So.
But that's what sports can do. That's why sports is the best.
Yeah, it brings people together. It's a great unifier. Like I like to say we're in the business of hope in football, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's like, not so much golf, but like football. At the beginning of every season, at least half the teams in the NFL think they're about to win a Super Bowl, right? And most of them, 31 of them are not going to win a Super Bowl, but every year they think they are. And it's just a wonderful thing that brings people together, gives everybody a reason to get together at games, tailgate, something to talk about around the lunchroom. Like it's something that brings an entire city together, and ultimately, for football, it brings an entire country together in some ways.
Yeah.
Which we need a lot of these days, it feels like.
So right before we filmed this episode, Jason, Tom, and myself played around together at Waynesboro Country Club. And just the week before that, Tom had a birthday. I won't reveal which birthday it was, but let me just say it was a number you wouldn't be happy shooting for 9 holes. But when we played at Waynesboro, something really weird happened, and that is he kept blowing it past me off the tee. I'm talking optimal spin, hovering, bounding, power fades 10, 15, 20 yards past me on every hole. I'm talking pounded draws, nuke draws. I hit first into every green. How is that possible, you ask? Pilates? PEDs? No. He had the new Titleist GT driver, and I did not. So the first thing I did when I got home from Philly, I scheduled a fitting with a certified Titleist fitter in my area, and we got up to speed, literally. A few swings in, I picked up 4-mile-per-hour ball speed and 13 more yards of carry, just like that. Fun fact, I now play an 11-degree driver, which I would have never done because of ego and pride mostly, but my fitter made an undeniable case. So Tom had a good run, but that's not happening ever again, thanks to my new GT. Now, there's 4 different models of the Titleist GT. It was clear after seeing the numbers that GT2 was right for me, from the way it sits at address, to the lovely sound it makes, to the springy and soft feel in the face. It's incomparable driving performance on every swing. So if you too would like to stop hitting first into greens and experience a generational leap in performance, head to Titleist.com to learn more about each Titleist GT driver model and find a fitting event near you. On the topic of hope, how much hope do you have for your golf game? Do you care?
This is why I said golf is not for hope. Golf is
what do you want out of your golf game? Do you care if you ever approach a certain? Some people are handicap chasers. Some people are.
I would love to be able to break 80 at some point.
Okay.
I've never done it. I think it's a milestone that is achievable, and I think that having any other, having any other goal higher than that would be unrealistic at this point for me, and goals lower than that, I don't know that would be strong enough. So I feel like 80 is a good number. It's like, hey, I need to get there, and if I can do that, I'll be really happy with how good I am at golf, personally.
Yeah, I don't think he's far off.
I don't think so either. I think.
Did you guys watch me?
No, I did, but we're looking. There's a. Once you polish that off, you can see.
Yeah.
You see 79 in your future.
So what are you guys? What's the main thing I should focus on if I do want to break 80?
Well, you certainly hit it far.
Yeah.
So even the drives that were offline, not knowing this golf course, like where you were on the 16th holes,
The data guys would love where you hit it.
You hit it deep.
The data guys are fans.
It's long and it's crooked, and you find some really great angles over there, right?
Awesome.
If you're gonna
Absolutely.
Tom told me on the first day at Waynesboro, if you're gonna miss big,
Yeah.
and that's you saw that today.
I play a lot of course holes from other holes.
Yeah. Yes.
Good
angles.
Yeah.
Good angles.
Discovering new angles. Yeah. No, but you certainly have the distance. The athletic ability is pretty clear.
Yes.
And you can see that you're very thoughtful. I mean, in fact, I would encourage you to kind of let more of that athletic quality come through.
Okay.
I can tell you're thinking over the ball, as we all are.
Yeah.
But making sure, being reactive. And like that last shot on 18, you kind of pumped it a couple times and then boom, hit it.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it sounded awesome and they had a great result.
Yeah.
So being, let yourself be an athlete out there is gonna, since you are one,
it's gonna
help.
Yeah, there's a flow. There's this weird flow thing, and everyone has their different flow in golf, But the process of from when you get behind the ball to over the ball, the guys that make it look effortless, I see is it's a flowy. They're always moving. They're never rigid, and
for sure
you can get into this. You get into a rhythm in a golf round that's quite hard to describe and also very hard to control because you could be stuck behind a slow group or with a slow playing partner. But there's this game within the game of trying to find your flow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of the athleticism piece. But technique-wise, if you see anybody hit a mid-iron and there's ball contact first and then a square divot, and that divot then flies 60 yards into the retention pond in front of the par 3 like you did today, you're
steep.
like, that guy can break 80.
No.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right.
Give me a couple months.
I thought you
with
said it
him.
was too steep down.
No, it's beautiful.
You're compressing the golf ball.
It's compressed.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
compression city. So there's a lot of hope, I think. You know,
All right.
a lot of hope.
We'll get you out in
This
that
is
short
good.
game area.
You guys are giving me hope now.
We'll leave
All
you
right.
out there for 2 hours.
Yeah, and the short game's the other thing. You know, and the short game
Oh,
is
there's a lot of strokes there.
that's just reps, right? That's
Yeah.
just feel and touch and things that you just got to spend time with.
Sure.
That's the instrument, right?
The instrument.
That's the instrument. It's
All
a
right.
finesse thing.
I like that.
Yes.
Got to practice my scales.
Yes. With the wedges. With the wedges. One other thing that I'm just jealous of personally of you, if I could say it, which is that, and maybe I'd like to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah.
But we see a couple different sides of Jason Kelce on television and on online, and I think some of them are at odds with each other. So first, there's the Jason Kelce that shotguns beers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, is shirtless sometimes, that likes to dance.
Yes.
And that guy's at odds with the one that led an NFL locker room for over a decade and called plays at the line of scrimmage, and is not afraid to cry during his retirement speech. There's also then this analytical and creative guy that's at odds. So I guess my question is, how are you able to do serious things and not take yourself too seriously?
Too seriously?
Yes. Because I find
I
it
don't
beautiful.
know. Yeah, it's a good question. I appreciate that. I don't know. I think, I don't know, I like to have fun. I think that I take things seriously, but I think that, I don't know. I'd be lying if I had a good answer off the top of my head. Yeah, I think maybe it's just me. Maybe it's the things that I find joy in. I'm highly competitive, so I want to win and find answers and do things better. But I'm also, so there's a serious side to it, but at the same time, I like to have fun and cut loose and live life. I often find that people that take themselves too seriously, like constantly, man, that's a hard thing to sustain. Really hard to sustain. Like, there's guys that I played in the NFL with, and like they're going here at this time, and they're eating this food at this hour, and like they're eating this many calories at all times. And for me, I just felt like it was never a sustainable way to live for personally. Some guys can do it. But I think having impulse and acting on that impulse at times is good for your brain to do, as well as, hey, like, let's not just chug beers every single day. Let's reserve that for like maybe a game or an event. Let's these other days kind of dial in and focus on what we need to improve at. So I think it's a balance that I think is healthy for me, and I think it leads to me being the most productive version of myself, where I'm having fun and I'm enjoying life, but at the same time, I'm putting work in and trying to get better and do things. Yeah.
Well, I think it's this idea of like play, being able to play a little bit, which adults lose oftentimes, and which is why a lot of people like myself can be jealous of that, because somebody actually once told me, they painted this visual for me, and because I said I'm just not having as much fun as I should be, getting to play all this golf and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And they painted a visual of, don't laugh, like a hedge line, and you're a tiger cub walking down the hedge line. This is a crazy visual, but this tripped me out.
I'm visualizing it right
Okay, and you're playing with your
Okay.
brother or whatever, and something comes out of this hedges and attacks you, right?
wow.
Now you can't have fun on that hedge line anymore.
Yeah, no, now you
know?
gotta-
And that hedge line's the world, really, because
Yeah.
life is going to come up and smack you a
Sure.
little bit, right? And
Yes.
and you forget how to play, so now you're always listening for noises and waiting for the next thing to come around the corner.
So that's why adults play less, is because they've
Yes.
been attacked enough that they are.
Something jumped out of the hedges.
That's an interesting take. I like that. I think I do think, though, that it's really important to play. Like, I think it's an underrated thing. Structure is really important, but I think also being able to be in the moment and being able to be free and just enjoy whatever you're doing in any capacity is something that you can, like, work at and, like, do. You know what I mean? Like, I think just from players' perspectives, like those same guys that were very analytical and like how their whole day was structured and what time they ate and everything was business all the time. On the field, sometimes they could never offer like off the cuff moments, right? Like, and it's because no wonder you aren't doing this on the field. You don't do this in your regular life at all. Like, you're never off the cuff. You're always just so structured, and it's like defensive players to a fault are the most impulsive individuals on the planet, and sometimes it leads to beauty in terms of like a pass rusher, but it's also can be like very like detrimental in other areas. And I think so I think it's important to do that. And I don't think I cognitively think about that, but Connor Barwin and I have talked about for years. And one of the things Connor would do in his player development role with the Eagles is trying to get guys into like hobbies outside of football. It's like, no, you shouldn't just be doing this all day. Like, let's find something else for you to have fun and disassociate yourself from thinking about cover 3 defense for a second.
Yeah.
Because like that's not good for anybody to just continually be like bogged down with trying to be the best football player they can be 24/7. Yep. To me, now some guys can. Tom Brady, TB12 method, I think it works, and he has won a lot of Super Bowls on it. But for me, I don't think I couldn't have done it that way.
Yeah, I do worry about that with junior golfers. You see an incredibly high burnout rate among college
It's with
golfers.
a
a lot of sports,
a
but
lot of junior athletes in general. Baseball's that way, golf's that way. I will say golf and baseball are unique because they're so skill oriented. Like golf, generally speaking, like that swing, there's not a lot of variables. Like the better you are at that swing, the better you're going to be at golf.
but it's not a super physical endeavor.
It isn't, because I'm a big believer in kids playing as many sports as possible. But like, it's like, hey, if you want to be good at golf, you're gonna have to play a lot of golf.
Yeah.
So
Do you play? Do you have other outside of golf?
No, I don't.
Neither do I.
I literally don't.
I've got nothing.
If somebody says, "Do you?"
but you played football growing up.
I did growing up. I played football, basketball. I played other sports, absolutely. But when I look at my life now, people say, "Do you have
Yeah.
like what else do you do besides golf?" And well, I obviously write about golf, but do you have other hobbies? And I feel immediately boring.
A lot of people play video games now, which is like I guess the version of play. Like, we don't play tag anymore,
Yeah.
But like video game. I think I like, again, back to the TikTok thing that we're talking. I like video games too much, so I don't keep one in the house. I like mowing the lawn now, actually.
The best thing
my
that
play.
happened when we moved to the house that we're in now, I didn't hook up the Xbox.
Yeah.
So it's not even a temptation.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of thinking about getting a bunch of old school arcade machines.
That's good because it's simple. You'll get like tired of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not
Eventually.
gonna sit there and play.
It's hard to
Galaga for,
like veg
10 hours.
out like nonstop with a headset on.
Yeah.
Like, there's only so much Pac-Man you can do before you're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, if you have a problem with zebra cakes, like I do, it's like,
Don't
don't
keep 'em in
leave
the
a
house.
giant bowl of zebra cakes
There you go.
right below the television.
That's right.
So, anyway, just a few more things I'm curious about. I don't imagine you became an offensive lineman to become famous.
No, definitely not. Yeah. I didn't even choose becoming an offensive
Right,
lineman.
you walked on as
Very rarely does anyone choose becoming an offensive lineman.
you just grow into it.
You just get pushed into it. It's like, you're now an offensive lineman. Yeah.
You walked on as a running back, right?
Well, really a linebacker.
A linebacker.
So I played running back and linebacker in college at the University of Cincinnati. But I was always primarily a linebacker. I got recruited by a number of colleges. I wasn't offered anything, so I was a walk-on. But I was a walk-on linebacker for Cincinnati, and I played my freshman year as a linebacker. And after my freshman year, Mark D'Antonio left to go to Michigan State. Brian Kelly came in with a new high-powered, fast offense that wanted more athletic offensive linemen, which is very different than what we had. And the strength coach then, Paul Longo, same guy who I told you about the goal thing, he was known for taking guys and making them into offensive linemen or defensive linemen, athletic guys that were either tight ends or linebackers, bigger guys, bring them down, and then all of a sudden they're like really athletic for that position. So he did that with me. He told me in the winter that year, you'd make a great center, and I was like, what are you talking about, man? I'm not playing center. This guy's out of his mind. And they moved me there that spring, and they offered to give me a scholarship if I stayed there. So the rest is history.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
I mean, there's no way of imagining, you'd be
I was 235 pounds. And this guy was like, you're going to play center at 290 pounds. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Paul?
What was that process like of getting from 235 to 2?
So I was really actually mad because I was 250 over the winter because I was redshirting. I was drinking beers and eating a lot of food, free food at the cafeteria. I was well fed at Cincinnati. And then I lost a bunch of weight for spring ball because I need to be in shape to play linebacker. Then 2 weeks into spring ball, they told me I'm playing center. Like, why didn't you guys tell me that when I was heavy? But I went that first year. I put a bunch of weight on that summer and tried to play at 265. Didn't end up playing. Following year, I started left guard at 285. My junior year, I played at 295. I even crossed up into the 300s at one point.
Hello.
Right?
Yep.
And then they moved me to center my senior year. I would drop back down to 280. Played that senior year and then played the majority of my NFL career at 290.
So, I mean, that's from a walk-on, to a Hall of Famer. That's, I mean, it's hard to believe. I guess my question is, how have you been able to stay yourself? Your Instagram bio is, authenticity is hard to find.
Thank you.
And I think that's a really awesome thing because I do find that it is increasingly harder for some reason, which is probably a separate podcast we could do today. But the heights that you've achieved as a walk-on is pretty remarkable. And so I imagine that if I were to go through the same thing, it would be you could lose yourself pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know that it would have ever happened if Paul Longo wouldn't have came to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Like, the reality is, I think, for me, so many things went right for me. I met, if Paul Longo doesn't go to Cincinnati, does anybody else move to offensive line? Probably not. Yeah. A 230-pound linebacker, who thinks that guy's going to put enough weight on and then still be good? I don't know. So that was a big moment. Getting drafted to the Eagles by Howard Mudd, who valued undersized guys, was a big moment. Jeff Stoutland getting hired was a big moment. Playing next to really good players.
So luck,
staying healthy. There's a lot of luck, which, listen, I think luck is preparation meeting opportunity. I got a lot of opportunities thrown my way, but I was prepared for them. I worked hard at it, and I seized those opportunities. A lot of other guys had opportunities as well, and they didn't get them. And some guys, unfortunately, had careers cut short that they could have amassed incredible success. But I think that I had a lot of really good things go right for me, and then selfishly I was in the moment enough to take advantage of that.
Yeah. Well, I feel very lucky to have spent the day with you.
No, this is awesome.
And,
Same here.
Yeah,
What a great day.
Awesome time. Awesome time. I wish you well in your golf career. I have a lot of hope for you And yeah, we'll see you on Monday nights for the rest of the year.
All righty. Sounds good. Appreciate you guys. Thanks. Yeah. Well done.